morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Carrillo. I'm the Executive Director of the South Florida chapter of the Associated General Contractors of America. Thank you for joining us today for the September 11th, 2024 edition of the Second Wednesday Safety Session powered by Milwaukee. Today is Patriots Day. It's September 11th, 2024. And today is the day where we remember the 3,000 lives lost 23 years ago during the 9/11 attacks in New York. We should never forget the lives lost on that day, nor the lives that were lost on the war and terror that followed. So just important to note that although we're gathered here today, that's something that we all have in the back of our mind. So today we're coming to you live from the offices of Kelly Cronenberg. We have the legend, Angelo Filippi, with us here today. For those of you who attend these events or follow us on YouTube, very proud to have Angelo here with us again. He is very bad at retirement, folks. Is ultimately what he comes down to. But he says he loves hanging out with us, so we're not going to tell him no. So thank you, Angelo, for joining us. I got to recognize you. I want to recognize the rest of the team at Kelly Cronenberg. Andrea, Cedric. They're always fantastic. They give us this amazing site for us to use, and we're very grateful for that. Want to thank the title sponsor of our Second Wednesday Safety Sessions, Milwaukee Tools. Here joining us from Milwaukee, we have Jake Nardo. Jake, I didn't even ask you. Jake, I'm not worried. Jake always has something to talk about. So Jake, let us know what's going on very quickly. Jake Nardo, folks.
Thank you so much, Carlos. As Carlos mentioned, my name is Jake Nardo. I think I've pretty much met the entirety of this room, but if you haven't met me, I'm the local Milwaukee representative. I cover pretty much Key West to Port St. Lucie, and I do standouts, job site tool talks, and essentially, work with people like yourselves to keep, number one, your guys and gals safe, and number two, running at an efficient manner. So just to keep it short and sweet, some of the things I want to point out today are our September Blitz promotions. We're getting really aggressive as we come towards the end of this 2024 year. So with that being said, we've got really, really aggressive promotions that technically I can't even give you a piece of paper with it. So if you want, come over, take a look to see what we've got. We've got summer vest flyers. We've got hand tools and accessories. And one of the most aggressive ones where we need on the site anyways is going to be our N95 face mask. Right now we have this promo going, buy one, get 4 free. And that'll come in the box. So you buy a box of 10, you're getting an extra 40 face masks for free. So very, very aggressive. Let us know what you need. Let me know how I can help. And I'll be hanging out by the tools. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, we are very picky as an organization, and especially when it comes to the safety sessions, on who we affiliate with ourselves with. And that works with our sponsors. We just don't take a check. We want to make sure that our sponsors are adding value to our safety community, not just selling a product or service. Betty Tech has their roots in safety, and their willingness to support our members was something that was very welcome. Interestingly enough, we've had Gal here. You guys all know Gal. Gal's never done a formal introduction of Betty to the group, and we're going to correct that. So joining us today, we have Betty's Vice President of U.S. Operations, Mr. Matthew Sitzer. Matthew's been working in their New York operations for quite some time. He is going to talk to us about what Betty's doing, the innovations that they're working on, and he and Gal are going to be available after the session to answer any questions those folks that are here in person may have, and Gal's always here at our sessions to answer any other questions you may have. So, Mr. Sitzer, come on up and join us.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. Very exciting for us. And well, I guess I'll just jump right into it. I'm going to tell you, I know Gal's come a lot, and many of you have met him, but I'll give you my version and perspective of who we are and where we fall into the endless and everlasting growing chain of the construction site management ecosystem. So To start off, who is Betty? And it's very fitting that we're here at this safety event right now because Betty is founded in Israel 7 years ago. And actually, the name Betty, if you translate it to Hebrew, Betichut, means safety. So it's really a core of who we are. And we were founded 7 years ago in Israel. The founders all served together in elite special forces in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and went into construction afterwards. They are very operations focused. And when they went into construction, they were dealing with pen and paper everywhere, managing the risk, the range of compliance and safety laws, trying to figure out how they can keep track of all of the paperwork while also build a building, which is the task at hand, making sure they have enough workers on site, making sure that the safety policies are actually being implemented. And so the foundation of what was built was a tool to solve the problems that they were experiencing in real life, coming from the industry themselves. And very quickly, they took over the market in Israel. Israel's a small little country, despite maybe how much media attention it gets and what's going on right now. And we ran out of room to grow. So we came to the US about 3 years ago. And the feedback has been amazing. Started off in New York, opening an office here in Florida. We have two of our people from our Florida team here, Gal and Eva. And over the past 3 years, we've raised close to $30 million, which makes us by far the biggest company in the world in this space. And safety compliance and site management is an area of construction that's kind of been overlooked. Construction, as everybody knows, from a technological perspective, is an industry that's been lagging in progress in terms of adopting technology. And so what we've built here is a simple, easy to use tool that adds value from two perspectives, making the process more efficient and helping from a risk and liability and safety perspective. And it makes sense if we look at it this way, because the founders, they all serve together and they're focused on the efficiency. From like the military perspective, they want systems and processes to be organized. My background, and my contribution is I come from a legal background. I practiced law for 7 years before helping to open the US expansion. And the idea of what we built here is to add value from both the safety and efficiency perspectives. And we believe if we can add value from both of these angles simultaneously, then we're improving the processes substantially on site. And of course, it's a scale. If we focus too much on the efficiency, that's going to come at the expense of the safety and compliance. Whereas if we spend all of our time making sure we're mitigating 100% of the risk, which is not possible, we're not going to actually accomplish building the construction site, which is what we're trying to do. And so we need to be mindful of both of these components and this is the philosophy behind everything we've built here. So I'm going to dive right into it. What we're offering, and maybe some people here, because we're in the safety space, are familiar with certain tools that can add value relating to safety. And we've seen some other things around that focus on maybe just the access control or just observations or checklists or just certain areas within the safety department. And what we've built here is a comprehensive solution. And this is very important. Obviously, the users on site need to be very familiar and have an ease of use with the tool. And if they're switching between 5 different platforms, the chances that we're going to have them be compliant are not as strong as they would be if they could have one simple, easy to use platform. And so what we offer here, again, is a fully comprehensive tool that is incredibly simple to use, and we're going to dive right into it. And so the first component that we're going to look at is the site management, which can be broken down into labor management, managing the permits, worker attendance, and alerts and reports. And it starts with the worker onboarding. Every site requires a site safety orientation, and typically this is done with pen and paper. And we have heard too many times of people getting injured on site and not completing a site safety orientation. And first of all, the purpose of the site safety orientation is to make sure that people are aware of the safety and risks that happen on site. Second, from a legal perspective, it's what we call the minimum of standard of care. meaning if you're not making sure that all of the workers on site have completed a site safety orientation, you're below the standard from a liability perspective. If something does happen, you're going to get in big trouble for it. And we want to make the process as simple as possible. And so the way it works is each site will have a specific coded site that's dedicated to their project. And we will upload the specific site orientation to the platform in as many languages as the customer will provide us, typically English and Spanish here. The manager will sign, the worker will sign. And what happens next is we send a text message receipt of the orientation to the worker on the spot. And so the reason we added this feature is when we first expanded here, my favorite question is, what lawsuits are you facing right now? And two people early on shared with me that they were being sued by people who were injured on site years down the road and claimed to have not received the safety orientation. And we went back to the drawing board and said, how can we extinguish this problem? That's clearly an issue that many people are facing. And so we decided to send a text message receipt of the orientation on the spot to the worker when we're onboarding them, taking their picture, which by the way, takes about 45 to 60 seconds per worker. And there's no argument down the road that they didn't receive the orientation. Plus, normally the orientation is a piece of paper that goes in the binder. Now the worker will have every opportunity to review the orientation actually for the rest of their life. But if there's any other questions that they need to review or so on, we have documentation and they have the ability to review it. You can see right here that this is like an example of a worker profile, keeping track of their OSHA and everything else. You can actually call any worker directly through the application, and I'll show you what that looks like. And what you get with the platform, and you'll see this with the access control, is a dashboard regarding all the workers that are on site, making sure they have all of the appropriate credentials. All of this data is going to be live. So for example, if you're keeping track of OSHA, this is a New York example, so we see the SST here, but all other certifications as well, scaffolding, rigging, frames, everything with their expiration date can be pulled live regarding all the workers on site. So if you ever have any questions, and we make it very dynamic to figure out if there's people on site who don't have proper credentials, because we use the stoplight system. Green means we're in good shape, yellow means something's about to expire, red means something is expired. Additionally, other data that we can gather from a compliance perspective is to make sure that if there's a Davis-Bacon project, and this goes into the efficiency component. I know we're talking about safety, but this is a tool that helps in many different angles. And because it improves the efficiency so much, it really makes it simple and easy, and people are very willing to assist, and we'll show you the data and participate with the safety metrics. And so you can see right here, if you have Davis-Bacon requirements and certain diversity metrics you need to hit, we make that very dynamic as well. Permits, keeping track of equipment permits, crane permits, building permits, whatever it is. Another tool we offer is to improve the communication from the site to the office. So typically there's a system, often these are kept in Excel sheets. With our platform, this can be managed from the mobile application or from the office, and you can filter through. Obviously, the people on site are just going to have access to their site, whereas the people in the office who are responsible for all of the projects are going to have access to all of the projects. And what we do, the permits that are expired will float to the top. The ones that are about to expire will be yellow, and the ones that are in good shape will be green. And so there's not going to be any surprises if somebody has a permit that's about to expire. And now there's two sets of eyes on everything, and we create this level of transparency and communication. So now I'm going to show you the face recognition access control. And everything is integrated with this face recognition access control, keeping track of the workers on site, the attendants, making sure that they have the appropriate credentials that we want them to have. As you'll see, the pre-task meetings, which we're going to get into, and subcontractor insurance as well. And so what you see right here in this video is there's going to be a turnstile. In Florida, this is less common, but we do have sites with turnstiles. The worker's outside wearing a helmet. This is the safety manager onboarding him with the phone. It's a very simple process, 45 seconds. The worker's signing the orientation. Just like this, in a fraction of a second, the worker's going to be scanned and recognized into the system. And if they have the appropriate credentials, they'll be granted entry. And if not, they'll be denied entry. A few important things to note. In this example, obviously, you saw that there's a turnstile. I would say about 50% of our sites in Florida do not have turnstiles. And what we do in this situation is you just put a camera on the wall or in a strategic location, but it has the same functionality with making sure that all of the workers on site are the workers that are supposed to be there. We call this accurate head count. It's not just if we're having an electrical, we need electrical work to be done on site. We're not picking up strangers and saying, hey, do you want to be an electrician for today? No, it's very important that everybody on site has the safety orientation, has the appropriate credentials, and that from an efficiency standpoint is on site for the appropriate amount of time. And so just with respect to the face recognition, a few important things to share. First of all, it's a 3D face scan. So even if you show like a picture of somebody else to the camera, it's not going to work. We operate on military bases internationally. And so the quality of the face recognition is really overkill for the industry we're operating in. But the advantage is incredibly fast and efficient. There's no bottlenecks of people. There's some other companies that are legacy companies for access control are using key cards. Key cards can be passed around from person to person. It's a logistical nightmare to actually print key cards on site. Somebody forgets their key card at home. You can't forget your face at home. Additionally, in terms of having an accurate head count, it's important that the data is reliable. And so we have what's called automatic offline mode. And for any of you guys who are familiar with WhatsApp, an example of automatic offline mode is with WhatsApp, if you send a message when you don't have signal, the message doesn't just fail to send, it will continuously fight to push itself through to the cloud. And the instant you get a signal, the data will flow through. We supply the internet with a wireless router, so there's almost never a connection problem. But even if there is, we store all of the data in the hardware as a backup, and it will still remember the workers, the expiration of their credentials, and provide you the exact same functionality and data that you will receive, even if in events where there is connection interruption. And this is critical for construction sites where you're not going to always have connection. And this applies as we get into the safety component to the checklists and observations in every aspect of our platform. And this is a key differentiator that separates us and puts us miles away from like anybody else in this neighborhood. And so what you get, where is this data going? First of all, you saw the dashboards from a few slides earlier, but now we have the time in, time out of every single worker on site. And from an efficiency standpoint, where there's a labor shortage right now, obviously Florida is being overwhelmed with the amount of construction, and it's hard to get. We hear many people saying that there's not enough workers on site, and this is delaying projects. And a way that this brings the whole piece of the puzzle together, tying it back to dollars and cents, is that if we know we have enough accurate workers on site, we have a very good idea of how quickly we can get through the construction process. And with the carrying costs of loan, it's very important that we have enough workers on site. And so what you can see right here is we have the time in, time out of every single worker. And as well, you can customize these attendance sheets for your own, however you want to keep track. For example, starting the workday at 7 a.m., subtracting an hour for lunch. You can see this first worker, as an example, entered at 6:49, left at 5. The total work hours should say 10.1, but it says 9 because 6:49 is rounded up to 7. They subtracted an hour for lunch if the worker's on site for more than 6 hours during weekdays, but didn't apply this rule on weekends. And you can customize these to your fitting, which we help out with the onboarding process. Additionally, if we're partnered with Procore and Autodesk and many other tools in the market. So if, for example, on site you're using Procore, we will funnel this data all the way to Procore live. It's a two-way integration. So we will pull the vendors from Procore to Betty and send live throughout the day how many workers from each subcontractor and the hours. And this is a very time-consuming process. Typically, the process is the superintendent is going to ask the foreman from each subcontractor, how many workers did you bring on site today for and for how many hours? And the foreman is going to give the super the answer the super wants to hear. And that's not what we're trying to accomplish. We save a lot of time by providing accurate data automatically. Next, safety. So this is again core to who we are, the Betty as a company, and this was like the foundation behind what we have built our product on. And just to talk about some real data. So as mentioned, we started in Israel and we took over the market there. And so that we partnered with the government and they were curious to see the real results of now that the country has migrated into digitizing a lot of the safety processes like checklists, observations, safety audits, which were done manually. What were the results? And so very straightforward, they surveyed 180 companies, 70% were using Betty, and the deaths per 100,000 workers decreased from 10.3 to 3. So there was an almost 400% decrease in deaths per 100 workers for sites using Betty. And the purpose of these safety checklists are not just tasks to be completed. It creates a culture on site that also translates to the efficiency component, because we all know that a safe site is an efficient site. And the proof is in the pudding here. If you're on top of your safety metrics and diligent in following reminders and have proper processes, it's going to be an effective tool in mitigating risk and making sure that people who show up to work are coming home safely. And so what are our safety features? First is safety checklists. And this is something that every site performs. You can implement these company-wide or site-wide. You can have checklists that should be done once a day, once a week, once a month. You can set company standards and site standards. And the people who are supposed to be and required and responsible for performing these checklists are going to get notifications that it's time to fill out the checklist. So you're going through, let's say, a general safety audit. You're going through this list as you can see on the screen. Okay, okay, okay. And next, if you have an observation, what happens? So you press report an observation. In this situation, there's an issue with open penetration. You say where the location of the observation is. You take a picture of the observation, draw on it. You can attach a comment. You mark the severity of the observation, and you tag whoever you want. You tag a party responsible for monitoring it, somebody with else within your team, the subcontractor. And what you can see there is we organize all of the open observations by severity and due date. And so there's no argument down the road as well that somebody wasn't made aware of the observation, because there's two things that can happen. One, you can have the foreman download a limited version of the application, and it's important to know that this is not a tool that every single worker on site needs to download. We don't consider that to be practical. So there's an option for just the foreman to download a limited version of the application, where they will essentially be able to receive observations and do daily pre-task plans, which we're going to get into in a second. And they will receive like an immediate alert of the observation. And again, even if you don't have a signal, the data will flow through as soon as you do get signal. So there's no question from a functionality standpoint that when you are reporting an observation or performing a checklist, that the data will flow through and your work will be saved actually for 7 years post project completion, which covers every statute of limitations. If the foreman don't download a limited version of the application, they'll receive a text message. Again, everything is timestamped. We organize everything there for you. So if we look at what's going on the screen, we can see on this particular site, there's one worker with an attendance issue. Maybe somebody's crane license is expired. We need to make sure that they are not going to be operating a crane, because that's a liability. There's 23 open observations. Maybe some of them are minor and just for our own knowledge, but 23 is a very big number. And this is something that we're going to want to look into. Maybe they're all coming from the same subcontractor. This is important data to have. Additionally, there's 2 permits that are expired. The checklists are in good standing. If there's a checklist that needs to be performed in the afternoon, and this is the morning, this will be flagged as red. Additionally, from the safety and compliance, we can see that within 1 month of starting with Betty, that there was a 37% increase in the performance of safety checklists. So they were being conducted consistently, increased by 37% compared to pen and paper within 1 month. Observations, the recording of observations, and this obviously has a direct correlation with the reduction of fatalities on site, has improved by 50% within 6 months. And additionally, a tool for incident and near miss reports, pre-shifts, which are directly connected to the access control. So if we know how many workers have checked in for the day, we know each worker on site needs to perform a pre-shift or a toolbox talk if you're collecting it that day. This entire process is digitized, and the workers will receive a text message that it's time to fill out the pre-shift that the foreman has uploaded to the screen. And all of the data is available in one place. Everything related to safety, compliance, and labor management is available in one place. And this is made available in dashboards. And what I'm going to do now is actually take you to a live site that's given us permission to share. And so you can see it's not just a nice presentation that, if this is going to cooperate in 1 second. That it's not just a nice presentation, that it works also in real life. And everything you see here is available on the mobile and the web. And 1 second. Great. And so you can see right here, this is a live site. We can see they have 1 open observations, 28 pre-shifts have yet to be completed. The permits look like they're in good standing. The safety checklists have been completed. If we go to the worker list, you see there's 124 workers on site. None of them are missing a credential or have a credential that's about to expire. If they were, these would be flagged as yellow. You notice that you can call any worker directly through the platform. Additionally, of the 124 workers that are present today, 102 are on site. This is very important from a safety perspective. If there's an incident on site, we need to know exactly how many workers are on site, or at the end of the day, to make sure that everybody's left the project. Similarly, checklists. These are the checklists that need to be completed, and you see that you have them all on the mobile phone available to you. If you need to look back historically, you can filter by whatever you want. Observations, just the same. We see that we have a list of all the open observations. You can filter by whatever you want. And so the sum of everything that you get here, just to jump back to the presentation, 1 second, and we're going to wrap up, is a site safety score. And this is based on an algorithm we've worked across with over 3,000 sites. And you can't fake the score. And this gives you a bird's eye overview of what's happening across all of your projects. And so we judge your site based on similar size sites in similar geographic locations and similar industries. So for example, industrial will be judged against industrial and so on. And it's a construction site. There's going to be observations. Are you reporting them at the appropriate cadence? Are you completing all your checklists on time? If you're not reporting any observations, that's going to lower your score. And so this gives you a bird's eye view of what's going on across all of your projects. And we've noticed, and this is the highest level that you can look at, that companies who have worked with us within 3 months have improved their site safety score over 20%. And again, this has the real-time effect of reducing fatalities on site and at the same time making the process more efficient. And as we grow here in Florida, we're excited to be growing our offices, working on the Port of Miami, working on the Luna building, and a number of other strategic and important projects with Civic and Tiapi, and excited to be here and continue to grow. And yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Just one, I don't know the answer, but we have to fact check you on something.
Sure.
Florida has workers' comp laws that have exclusive remedies. New York has different laws. I don't know what they are. So I just need to match it up to make sure
Yes,
the facts are
100%. And so we started off in New York, and we are compliant in every state that we're operating in. And before we enter the state, we make sure that we're compliant in that specific state. So we've gone through all the compliance with the legal team and make sure that our platform, as it exists in Florida, it's not identical to what exists in New York. It's state specific and compliant with all local regulations here.
What a surprise. You have a question. Go ahead.
Oh,
man. I'm learning. It takes a little while. Has or can that system be hacked?
So, excellent question. As I mentioned earlier briefly, we operate on military bases, and so the quality of our data protection and the standard that we have is more than what you would expect from massive companies because the data is so sensitive. We have data security. It's called ISO 2700, which is the gold standard for data security and protection, and we're backed on multiple U.S. servers in areas that have satisfied very, very large enterprises that are very concerned about their data security. And so, can it be hacked? I don't know. I know that it satisfies military bases that couldn't be more protective of their data. So, I would say it's as unlikely as any platform that exists.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Digital face recognition. Where is that? Where is that data? Where is that digital face stored? And also, can it be hacked there?
So what we're doing, it's not surveillance. Everybody here in this room, just looking around, and most people in society have smartphones that they unlock with their face on many times a day. And so that people's attitude towards face verification or face recognition have changed substantially over the past 5 years. We can thank Tim Cook and Apple for helping people understand the concept of using it as a tool to match that you are the individual who is supposed to have access to what we're ever having access to, whether that's the construction site or whether that's your phone. There's an understanding that we're just matching from the picture when we did the orientation that you are the same individual that is entering the site and you're not a stranger. And that is the entire purpose of it. And it has the same level of data protection and security as everything else that I mentioned.
You answered two questions. Finishing up with, can it be hacked? Can it be used by AI?
No, there's nothing. It's controlled within our closed ecosystem. The customer will own all of the data. We host it for them on our secure servers that have double backups.
We have another question.
You can fax in a picture of your face, by the way.
And that way, you know, give some chance to everybody else, man.
I did. I made it till the
I just
end.
have an easy question. Is this, I know you're talking about inspections. Is inspections is only for one trade or different trades? Because I'm a road builder.
Yes,
I'll build roads.
right.
So it can be, the inspection can be different.
Yes.
For different trades.
You customize the checklist and we can work with you. We have templates for, again, across the 3,000 sites, we have templates for whatever you're looking for. If you want certain inspections to be specific for you, or you want some ideas, but the idea of the checklist is we'll work with you. If you have your own checklist, we can upload them to the server. And if you are running many sites simultaneously, you can upload them to each specific site, and the individuals on site who are required to perform the checklist will receive a notification in real time and a reminder that it's time to perform the checklist, and nothing can slip between the cracks. And you can see from the office as well to see who has and hasn't done it. And if somebody hasn't done it, you can call them directly through the platform and say, hey, it's time to perform a checklist. Give them a reminder, and the fact that they were late is also going to be stored for your record.
Any other questions for Matthew?
I have a question.
Last one.
I have a question on the safety orientation.
Yes.
Usually, we have a video that we
Yes.
put now on that. You said it was 40 seconds.
Yes.
What does that consist of in that 40 seconds?
So the 40 seconds is actually onboarding the worker, their OSHA, any other credentials, first name, last name, emergency contact, and if they have a crane license or whatever it is, and then the site-specific orientation, like the paperwork behind the orientation. If you have a video, you can actually embed a video in the orientation instead of paperwork, or upload a link to the video. And again, when the PDF is sent to the worker, the link to the video will also be sent to the worker. All of this is timestamped and memorialized. So if you have a longer video that's longer than 40 seconds, obviously that's going to extend the length of the orientation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys for your questions. Matthew, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time. Appreciate it. Hey, folks, it's 8:46, so we're gonna have a quick moment of silence for the 9/11 victims. That's very admirable. Thank you all for standing. Appreciate it. Thank you, folks. You guys can grab a seat. This month, it's suicide, National Suicide Prevention Month. We've addressed suicide itself here last September. And what we wanted to do today is kind of address possible root causes of suicide or suicidal thoughts. According to studies, and this was surprising. Over 50% of all suicides are associated with alcohol and drug dependence. And at least 25% of alcoholics and drug addicts commit suicide. Undoubtedly, we've talked about alcohol and drug abuse as a corollary to suicide. We have the evidence here. We wanted to address it as its own subject, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Today, joining us is Ms. Shelly Mosquera, who is a licensed clinical social worker with Day Family Counseling. Ms. Mosquera has experience treating individuals as well as working with groups. She's developed programs to address issues or in dealing with tragedies. These experiences align well with our audience because you all are organizations, and I know you as safety directors run a tight ship. There's a lot of camaraderie within our organizations, and Shelly, having experience working with organizations, I felt was the right person to speak with us again. Ms. Mosquera, come on up.
Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quick.
Perfect.
Okay. And everybody's, yeah.
You're gonna have to hit
There's a
play
delay.
from beginning.
No, actually on mine, it's there.
You may have to share the other screen. Technology is awesome.
You know how to use it.
Says the person who wants to fax his photo.
What, faxes ain't good anymore?
So we gotta share. Can you help us share the right screen? Cedric's got it. That's why we got Cedric here.
We still love you.
Thank you.
Is technology related confusion a causing factor of alcoholism in society nowadays?
It definitely could be.
Is that an inappropriate joke to make? I apologize in advance.
I really got anything from that. That's why I asked him to. 45 and 46. We'll ask that.
That will you do?
Yeah, this is.
I'm missing the link. We gotta continue this orientation. So it'll work.
I can hear this. Okay, so while Cedric, just so that we don't delay, because I know that many of us may be on a time constraint. My name is Araceli Mosquera. I'm also, everybody usually calls me maybe Shelly, is my nickname. Like Carlos mentioned, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm also a qualified supervisor in the state of Florida, certified as a telehealth practitioner, as well as a certified behavioral case manager. Thank you so much. So this is not the first opportunity that I have to meet with you. For those of you that I have had the opportunity to meet before, it's always a pleasure when Carlos reaches out and invites me to come in, just because for me, I'm one of those advocates that feel that mental health is something that providing awareness is something that is very, very important. So any opportunity that I have to be involved and to come out is definitely something that I, switch my schedule around and make it a point to be available. So I know that Carlos did, provided some statistics, but just to reemphasize, the construction industry, it employs about 1 million workers within the industry, and there is a silent and overlooked topic that happens in many of your organization and construction sites, which is the substance abuse issue within your employees. There is 50% of construction workers in the United States have a substance abuse disorder, compared to the 8.6% of the general population, according to the data of the National Survey of SAMHSA. Common substance abuse within the employee and the construction industry are opioids, marijuana, as well as alcohol. There has been studies that also shown that some of the construction workers that have suffered death, when the toxicology is done, there has been some signs of alcohol use or substance abuse use. A lot of employees may suffer injury, and as a result of those injuries, they tend to go to pain clinics so that they're able to continue to work. And unfortunately, there is some misuse in that area as well. With that being said, today's focus for me is going to be to provide you guys, awareness of what you as an organization, especially the safety committee, can do to help support your employees. There is a huge push, which I'm really excited to be a part of mental health practitioners coming out to organizations. This can be done in a very discreet manner so that you encourage your employees to come and meet with us. There's mental health questionnaires, screening tools that there's even organizations that put them like in the lunchroom very discreetly. People pick them up. And it's a way where your employees are able to feel that they have the support that they may need. There is a stigma associated to substance abuse and mental health. People sometimes are very ashamed about it. They are afraid to seek help. So it's something that the more that we talk about it, the more that we make individuals feel that this is something that we understand and we want to be supportive of. We can definitely encourage your employees, family members, whoever it is that is impacted, to come out and get the support that they need. I myself am a private practitioner. I do consulting work for Dade Family Counseling. Dade Family Counseling is a phenomenal organization in the community that provides group counseling, individual therapy, psychiatric medication management, family therapy, marriage therapy. So it's an organization that I highly encourage individuals to go and seek help. There's about 30 licensed practitioners that provide support, and there's also telehealth services, which for those individuals that cannot come out to the community, they're more than welcome to seek services within telehealth as well. There is a lot of risk factors that we have to consider for individuals that are not stable, based on that are dealing with mental health conditions that are not stable, as well as obviously individuals that are misusing or using while in the workplace. There's a likelihood of, fatalities, injuries within the workplace. There's decreased productivity, absentees, employees tend to not go to work. Incidents of injuries, decreased problem-solving ability, and tardiness and absenteeism, like I mentioned before. How can you help? One of the first steps that employers can take is, again, raising awareness, providing, policies and procedures within your organization where making mental health health packages where your employees are aware that this is an area that they can also use if there was a need. Also, and making sure that your managers and construction site, leaders are aware that they're able to reach out to these employees and let them know that if they need help or if something is wrong, that they won't get fired or penalized, but that there's a way that you guys are willing to support them through whatever difficulties they may be dealing with. This was something that I was when I was working on updating the presentation that I was creating. It was 2022 statistics versus the statistics of 2020. The increase of the suicide, it was just very hard for me to look at. It increased, very big. It was, I think, at 46, and now it's at 49,476 Americans died by suicide.
Sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry. I thought you
I can't help it, see?
No.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. See, that's just me. I have to what? It's my ADHD.
No, but that was good. That was good.
Okay, so suicide was actually 13 leading cause. It is now the 11th leading cause. So it definitely has gone down. So it's something that we have to pay attention. We have to be aware of, and we definitely have to try to evaluate and reflect on what it is that we can do within our workplace in order to support our employers, our partners, and even our leaders. It comes from anywhere. It doesn't have to necessarily be the construction workers. And then in 2022, there was an estimated 1.6 million suicide attempts. And I think, how Carlos mentioned that substance abuse is, there is a very big correlation between substance abuse and suicide. What can, providing these resources, making them available within, your lunchrooms, again, your employee health packages. This is something that is important so that people are able to seek help, if they feel the need to. The 988 suicide crisis line is something that is available 24/7, as well as the SAMHSA substance abuse, helpline. Again, I have over 15 years of experience. We do provide individualized crisis interventions. We come out if you guys have death within your work sites. We can definitely show up within the 24 hours of the incident occurring and providing mental health support, not only to the employees, but also to the family members. So I want to make you guys aware that that is something that we definitely provide. If you guys want to do, mental health awareness days, mental health support packages for your employees, these are things that we definitely can do for you. There is my QR code for contact information for those of you that may want to communicate with me if there's any way that I can be of support. Is there any questions that anyone has that I can answer?
If you say your name, I can't pronounce it, the consonants and vowels, it's got me messed up.
That's why you can call me Shelly, but it's pronounced Aracelis.
Shelly, okay, yeah.
How long you lived in Dade County? and
Yeah,
you
no
can't
kidding,
pronounce
man.
that
Come
name?
on.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Come on, man.
Hey, I call a guy El Chapo. I have no idea what it's really.
So my question for you is, let's say you're an employer, you're on the state, let's say you've got someone that's no call, no show. And And it's more, and you think that there is a problem. How do you go about addressing that?
Me
With
as
the
a,
person,
as a
is it
therapist
just
or the employer?
the employer?
Yeah.
How should the employer open up that conversation?
Well, I think being direct. I mean, I think a lot of times we are fearful of talking about the subject matter when a lot of times I can tell you that one of the reasons why I have very good rapport with my patients is because many times the subjects that people don't want to talk about are not discussed, even like you coming in for services. So, whether it's issues with intimacy, issues with, you know, um, issues with infidelity, issues with substance abuse, or whatever the subject matter, I think by you just being open and just maybe pointing it out, is this something that you're dealing with? And I think that that opens the opportunity for the employee to feel that they're either suspecting that this is happening and maybe can even allow the opportunity for them to openly discuss and also saying what being prepared you as an employer to say how are you willing to support them so they don't feel that if they were to be able to talk about it that they're not going to be penalized or that they may lose their job. Essentially, I think a lot of times that's why employees are fearful of that, the ramifications that can occur if they just come clean and say. So I think by you just saying, this is not going to be something that can be, can affect you, obviously depending on the circumstances, right? And the risk factors, I'm aware of that. But just letting them know how you will support.
Yeah, it's a situation because obviously we're working in a dangerous environment. So you have an employee that's a risk to others. That's something that needs to be addressed. I'm curious, do you all, when we're doing safety stand downs or we're addressing items in the morning, do you all do a unit, like is drug and alcohol abuse something that's covered by you all on the job sites at all?
It's starting, middle, you start smelling stuff, you start seeing stuff on the floor.
So when we had discussed suicide before, was suicide something that you guys addressed on the job site or during stand downs at all?
Now that
You have?
this presentation and the first one that we years ago, yeah, it's.
I think other
It's
parts of the
become-
state have issues down here, is families have to work to feed their families, there's no drugs or alcohol.
Correct. So one of the things, because obviously Shelley comes from a mental health background, so I'm glad you brought that up, right? So there's a lot of content out there on opioids, where I don't see opioids as a major issue in this state as opposed to the Midwest, where it's a terrible situation. So I was just curious. Now, suicide is also, although I know companies that have it impacted here again, it's not at the level that I've seen in other markets. And it's funny that you framed it in that way. But construction is, and I don't know if you remember this, but we talked about it last time you were here. Construction is the second highest suicide rate among industries in the United States. Forestry is number one, and forestry I kind of get because that has to be a very lonely profession, right? But construction's second, and I guarantee you it's majority men on the job site. We're not really, going to be discussing about the problems that we're facing. And I think drugs and alcohol is a way to help that out. So I'm sorry I interrupted your presentation, but
I think one of the things that I think it's important to take from here today is prevention, and a lot of people tend to be, a lot of organizations after incident occurs is when they become, active in trying to find the support versus doing the prevention, finding ways that you can incorporate it, whether within your workplace every 3 months, once a year, where you have somebody like myself come out, provide education within your policies and procedures, introduce them, doing sessions where employees realize that this is a subject matter that if they are dealing with it, there's an opportunity to get the help versus when I get called out, we had a suicide, can you come out and provide support to employees? Then the employees are like, yes, we noticed some signs. We noticed that there was something wrong, but we didn't know what we could have done. We didn't want to get involved. There's a lot of miscommunication where people, feel, we don't know if he would even want to talk about it, he or she. So again, there is always opportunity to provide awareness. There's always opportunities, and there are resources out there that can make this subject matter something that, people don't have to shy away and have to endure it, alone.
Yes, again, go ahead. It is.
Suicides, per my definition, somebody killed himself, but it left a note. On the construction site, you're saying that we're in the second, are these folks leaving notes saying that this is why I'm dying? Or you're assuming, which I shouldn't use that word, that because he's dead and he had marijuana or some opioid drops on the system, that he committed suicide?
Like, I guess every subject matter, every situation is different, and I guess it depends on the research, on how the individuals that conducted that research came up with that, with that outcome. But to be honest with you, there are individuals that provide, within their suicide, the note, something explained, but there are times that there is nothing, how they come about the construction workers is because whether they're an actual employee within the construction site. So that's the way that, that they come up with the information of how the correlation of number 2 being construction.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Shelley?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, hold on, brief. So Shelley does work with organizations. So if you or your company are interested in finding out more about the services she offers, or how she can help your organization, feel free to reach out to her. I'll make sure her information, like Gal's team at Betty, will be in the same email, so you'll be able to reach out to her.
Thank you again.
Thank you all, for those of you that are here in person and those of you who are joining us online. As always, I'm very, very happy with the folks that came up and the content that was provided to you all. Our job here through our second Wednesday safety sessions is to educate the safety community and to bring you all together and provide you with a community where you guys can share best practices and what's going on out there. Safety Fair is coming up on Saturday, October 19th. You will have our registration open next week. We'll be putting the flyers out with our course schedule. I want to thank the safety committee members that were there taking part in putting everything together. We are looking for volunteers. If you're looking to teach, please let us know. I know one of the things that we want to try this year is to do an OSHA 10 course that starts on Friday, wraps on Saturday. If you're open to teaching OSHA 10, we'd love to have you. If you're open to teaching any of our courses, please come out. It's a wonderful event. Our goal is to train those workers whose organizations are not providing them with safety education. These are the subs of the subs of the subs. These are the folks that need our help getting educated on safety and what it takes to keep them and their surrounding construction workers safe on the job site. Other cool stuff going on next week. We have our Amateur Sommelier and Construction Expert Series event. My Lord, that is a mouthful. And we'll be talking about contracts, contract negotiations that are ongoing between GCs and owners, and what our members are seeing out there as they're negotiating their contracts. That is going to have Blake Ross of Beauchamp Construction will be our moderator there. And we've got a great panel. And then our CEO reception and golf tournament are November 7th and 8th at Trump National Doral. Registration is open for that as well. Look forward to seeing you all next month. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.